Hi, welcome to the Indian Cattleman Podcast. I'm your host Ajay Kumar, speaking from the buzz capital of India, Mumbai. Structure of Cattleman Podcast is as follows. Our team picks up topics from the ones you request. It speaks to dairy stakeholders across India and collates and presents views in a consistent language. Chosen language for the podcast could be English, Hindi, or another language for the benefit of all our listeners across India. You will, however, see transcripts and redone versions of podcasts in local languages on our website www.indiancattlemen.com.
Hi, welcome to the show. Many dairy farms and dairy units either do not have a website or have one that is not generating the desired results. Does your business need a website? Or if you have one, are you generating results commensurate with the time and money invested? And are you ahead of your peer group? If you want to reach out to customers or stakeholders beyond your personal relationships, you would need a website. But there are many technical aspects that need to be thought through while building one. This shall ensure that expenditure on the website can generate returns. To understand the critical aspects, we spoke to Harsh Rathi, founder of Kaleidoscope FX Studios, who has been helping clients with their design communication, digital presence and visibility.
Okay, so the first question I think that would arise from natural thought is, do I really need a website for my business? Because maybe you believe you're doing just fine without it and you can keep doing just that. Or maybe you hold some other reservations. But the answer to that question is objectively definite yes. You should always have a website for your business, even if you want to restrain your reach. Because when you have a website, you have a degree of control over the perception of your brand in a distant audience's eye. You don't want every thought about your brand or your business floating around the internet to all be user-generated content. As a business owner, you definitely want a degree of control over the narrative surrounding your brand. And for those of us who want to expand our reach, which should be most of us, the answer is yes in a more obvious form. So basically, you should always have a website for your business. The second thing that most small or middle-sized business owners may have in their minds when it comes to having a website is, okay, sure, I need a website, but do I need to get on it today, or should I wait some months or years or whatever? Once again, the answer is yes, today, or as soon as it is feasible. And I say that for a slightly technical reason. I'll try to explain it in simple words. So whenever someone writes something about you on the internet, it is only when you have a website that they can link what they're saying about you to your business's page on the internet. The page being your website, of course. And whenever someone links to your website, it basically branches a route into the internet ground. If you delay having a website for, let's say, 1 year. Now, if in this time period of 1 year, a magazine, a national newspaper, or a local newspaper publisher, or even a niche blog writes about your business, and they don't have a website for their business that they can point their audience towards, you lose a lot of those potential route branches. And also, when people have been writing about you and pointing to your website for a long time, your roots then go deeper into the internet. And now you hold more credibility on the internet. And this is technical credibility, not just credibility as we humans perceive it. So these deep roots, they actually manifest themselves into you popping up more as a result when people search for queries adjacent to your business on a search engine. So you don't want to lose any opportunity that might come your way and that might help you with those deep roots, because that gives you organic reach, and it is quite hard to fight a competitor's organic online reach. That's why I say your business, whatever the size of it may be, get it a website, and always get it as soon as it is feasible for you. Now, when you have decided, like, okay, I'm going to get a website, what is the next step? How do you go about getting it done? I think you should think of your website as a tool to grow your business. You should define a goal first and then have a website done that takes you closer to meeting with that goal. So getting a website done by your relative, like your cousin, your uncle, it's usually not a good idea. Well, something is better than nothing, but unless you're a professional at making websites, correction. But unless they're a professional, not you, they are a professional at making websites, you'll probably end up with an ill-fitting brand identity and a website that will be pretty hard to scale up into something that you actually need. And when I say define your goals, I mean things like define your target audience. For example, if you're designing a website for a dairy farm, is your target audience a dairy consumer? Because if it is, it is probably a good idea that you have a shop component or at least a catalog of your products on your website. But if your target audience is other dairy farmers, then you might want to make it more about breeding and your breeds on your farm. And the shop component will be distracting to that audience. If your audience is both, you may need to go with a different approach altogether. So understanding needs is important, because that will tell you if you are wasting 5,000 rupees or investing 10,000 rupees. Because for example, if a web design company is going to deliver your website for, let's say, 5,000 rupees, unlike some other company that is asking for just the double, 10,000 rupees. But the 5,000 rupee company delivers to your website built upon a generic template that does not fit your requirements, and that does not promise any return on investment, because it is going to be as good as nothing. The 10,000 rupee option, although it will be costly in the beginning, it will make you your money back, because it will be based upon your needs. There will be a lot more thought poured into it that will convert your audience into leads, like eventually into paying customers. But all of that, unless the existing template that is being used for a website is specific to your business type. So, but the bottom line is, don't look at initial costs of development. It makes more sense to look at it from a return on investment perspective. And then there are other things that you should make sure of. Like in today's time, you have to have your website built as mobile friendly. Search engines are significantly biased toward mobile friendly websites. Your website should present a unique brand identity. So a section of your website should always appear as a part of a bigger whole. A bigger whole being your website. So it should basically not appear to be patchwork. Another very important thing I'd say is you should always have good call to actions on your website. A call to action is basically something that invites a user or stimulates a user to do something that brings them closer to achieving a goal. So all the buy now button, the click here button, or the download button, or the sign up button, these are all call to actions. But not just them. Anything that results in a micro yes is also a good call to action. So like if I give an intriguing slideshow of things, a slideshow that stimulates the user to scroll further into a page, further into like where I have my call to action sign up button that finally generates my lead. That scroll action is also a good call to action. So you should have those good call to action on your web pages of your website. But there is also a problem with call to actions on the internet today. I think they have become very overwhelming for users. I'm really in love with the idea of keeping things simple. So like have fewer but more definitive call to actions. What I like to do is I like to present one forward and one backward call to action in every frame. By forward, I mean one that takes the user to the next step in the user's journey on your website for achieving any particular goal, and backward call to action to backtrack into the journey and go into a different branch of user flow or the user's journey. And then maybe just one more here and there to facilitate a little branching and go easy on the backtracking part, but only when it inspires a sense of sensibility, let's say. So keeping it simple is important, because otherwise there's a high chance that you won't get your conversions. The user will just get lost and you will have wasted all your money that you would have put into developing your website. After that, there's other few smaller things like try to not go with things that are trendy when it comes to your website design, because it might look as a good thing today, but it will go away just like that in a snap. Because when we say something is trendy, it carries in itself the temporary characteristic, and it will feel out of place very quickly. And then you'll have to pour more money into redesigning, and you'll always be playing catch up with these trends, all while straying further from your brand identity. And that will have its own economic implications. It just doesn't seem like a good business decision to me. At least when you're in the small to medium scale. So, when you have had your website done, or when you're halfway through having your website done, you'll have another problem. That is, how are you going to market your website? And the big word that you're going to hear is SEO, search engine optimization. Search engine optimization confuses a lot of people, because it is not only a very deep subject, but it is pretty wide also, so people can lose sight of what is happening in all that width. It overwhelms their periphery. So small business owners can be fooled by a bad internet marketing company in the name of SEO relatively easily. That is, if they don't know what exactly it is that is being done by this marketing company for their SEO. In fact, some very big name companies have been duped in the name of SEO. Companies like Washington Post, BMW, BBC, JCPenney, or even internet companies like Mozilla. They have had to face bans from Google search results because of bad SEO practices. And I'm not saying that to put a scary thought into your mind. I'm just saying this to give you an idea of how carefully you have to tread this line, that is search engine optimization. So like earlier when we talked about deep internet roots, what some marketing companies will do is that they basically pay a bunch of websites to link back to your website. And this will show you some relatively quick results. But these aren't organic links. And search engines today, like the Googles of the world, they're very smart in recognizing that these links were quote unquote fake. And then your website will get banned from Google equally as fast. Because good SEO takes time to show result. And that is once again the other edge of the sword. An internet marketing company could keep taking money from you for this supposedly good SEO that will show incredible results in the long run, all while they are basically doing nothing for you. So you should try to have some degree of understanding as to what is this company is doing for you. And this link building part was just one of the hundreds of factors that affect your SEO. and it is not an objective process. So anytime someone guarantees you SEO results, that should pop up as a big red flag too. Now, once you're done with your web design and basic one-page SEO, what happens next is that you start pouring money into advertising. And one of the most direct forms of advertising is ad banners, the image and video ads. You do that mainly by AdWords, the Google platform, and Facebook ads, and all these other high traffic, big platforms. And they're very accessible. You don't need a lot of money. You can start with very little, and it goes up to virtually however big your audience demand can be. So anyone can do it. But this easy factor is also what makes it risky. So whether you put a Facebook campaign or you just boost a post, what is the most appropriate button to add along with your post? These are very important things, because if you don't pay attention to these things, you only end up burning your cash. And same is with these Google ads. You should be careful with defining your keywords. You don't want your brand name as the keyword for an ad unless there is a competitor bidding on your brand name keyword. You don't want to advertise on keywords which you organically rank for anyway. That's wasting money too. Another thing people do that waste their money is people spend a lot on marketing experts. And a lot of these experts only teach them how they became that celebrity level expert. So make sure you're receiving information from them that is tangible and that can manifest itself into a skill set that would actually help you with the marketing part, and that it shows in the numbers. Many times what they might be teaching you is not what you need for your business. There's a plenty of free information out there too. You can go with that. In fact, if you're a small or a medium business, I say that is the wiser choice, because I don't want to see you spending more on marketing classes than on actual marketing itself. Another advice while planning a marketing strategy would be you should keep on trying new things, so that you are always in discovery mode. And then you spend more or do more of what is working for you and less of what isn't. It is a very simple thought, but people often lose their way in the vanity of a particular way of marketing and end up wasting a lot of money. And then branding versus marketing. Like, branding is important, very important also. But be careful that you are not just justifying your failed marketing as branding. So don't relabel your underperformed marketing campaign as a branding campaign when you have the hindsight. Keep track of everything. Because if you do that, your timeline shift. When you do something with direct response marketing intent, that it results in a branding response, you will now get your return on investment in years instead of months. Because that's what happens. Branding gives you your return on investment in years, and while direct response marketing gives you in a few months. And if that happens to you, your timelines will shift, and that might put you into a pickle if you're in a time sensitive situation. So yeah, don't relabel your marketing campaigns after the fact. I think those are the most important things you should keep in mind when you go about having your first website built.
I believe with those things in mind, your decision to make a website will be more rational than it would have been otherwise. And you would be able to extract greater return from the money and time invested in the process. This is your host Ajay Kumar, signing off.